Havana. 2 of the 11 million Cubans live here in the capital, and there are more every day. Nowhere else in the country is it as visible as the island state is changing. While the districts with the tourist hotels are flourishing, in other parts of the city one has to fear to be beaten to death by bricks of ailing facades. The whole country is as contradictory as Havana. On the one hand, the economic upturn is mainly due to tourism. Tips alone make more money in a day than the average Cuban carries home in a month. Even if the country sees itself as one of the last socialist countries, it would no longer be able to feed its population without the opening up of the market economy. Especially in the rural regions, the decline of the Cuban economy is clearly visible. Father Hans Wiebel wants to reach for the top. The Swiss priest leads us to the steeple of his parish. We are in Mayari, 850 kilometers east of the capital Havana. Here in the province, the time is different. It is not road cruisers, but horse-drawn carriages that dominate the street scene. For almost 3 centuries, the mighty church tower has been the landmark of the state. But church life has changed massively as a result of the revolution. In the evening, Father Hans and his confrere Rado invited to the service. It is new that dozens gather for Holy Mass during the week. As long as Cuba was considered an atheistic state, the community life came to a large extent to a standstill. Before, the churches were really empty, with few exceptions. The times in which the church had to fight are, thank God, over. According to the Constitution, religious freedom has reigned since 1992. This gave the churches more freedom. Some who have lived their faith in secret so far venture out of cover. Although the relationship between church and state has eased, the work of religious communities continues to be subject to strict conditions. Critical comments can cost the residence permit. I knew from the beginning that there could also be informers in the church, that there are people in the church who would listen, and if I were to criticize the government, then this could have consequences. Every day, women from the parish meet in the vicarage to cook. With their cuisine, they want to support the needy from the city. Today, Mary has taken on the task of purifying the rice. They receive the money to buy the food from Caritas. The soup kitchen is necessary because this offer from the state officially exists, but it is not enough. They get lunch now and then. They can go there, but very often there is none. This is not very well organized, and very often they come to us and say there is no lunch, we can get something from you. Then we'll give something simpler, a roll or a sandwich.
Bendiciendo los alimentos, que Dios nos ayude con mucha salud.
Not only those who can pick up a meal receive support. Around noon, Father Joan, as they call him here, sets off with one of the cooks to visit all those who can no longer leave the house. It's not just about the food. Eating is a way to come to them, to support them. But materially, it is not only about making contact, but also about getting them out of loneliness and having contact with other people. That is a nice task, because it's not only a material support, but also a spiritual one. With Father Hans, we go to the outskirts. 12 churches and chapels belong to the parish. On the way, we pass the former prestige settlements of the Revolution. Everyone should get a modern apartment in the prefabricated buildings. The settlements are getting on in years and often threatened by decay. Years ago, it was a popular sea view restaurant. Now the former magnificent building, a ruin that serves as a meeting point for young people without prospects, is in ruins.
Ja, alles verlottert. Osmani!
Father Joan comes here every week to say Mass. Since the former church was destroyed by a storm, the parish has been content with a temporary solution. Some of the former factory workers try to keep their heads above water by fishing. Some have used small fishing boats to escape the country. The destination is the USA. I also know examples from our parish where people told me that at night they went by boat from our parish area across the sea to the Maieri, with the danger that many have also perished, not all have arrived. Today, Father Hans is also on the road with a vintage car. Of course, the vehicle of an acquaintance has little to do with the tourist sleds in Havana. Not only are some windows missing, the handbrake is also defective. Of course, that doesn't bother anyone here. The way to the chapel is difficult. The rain of the last few days has softened the ground. It is well received by people that a European who is accustomed to doing something different does it. People cannot understand when I say I come from Switzerland, and they know that Switzerland is a rich country, that I came here voluntarily to Cuba. They cannot understand, and they show us great appreciation and gratitude.
En nombre del Padre y del Hijo y del Espíritu Santo. Amén. Que la gracia y la paz de nuestro Señor Jesucristo, quien nació de María.
The bishop also attended today's service. Bishop Emilio has headed the Cuban Bishops' Conference for a few months now. As hard as the pastor is trying to form a local clergy, pastoral care would hardly be possible without the missionaries from abroad.
Unos títeres grandes que van a ir moviéndose, entonces van a cubrir todo eso y con unas varillas. Ah, mira, si encuentran varillas, podemos hacerlo con una varilla, sería así.
A meeting of the youth leaders in the vicarage. Father Joan and Father Rado from Slovakia are happy that the young people are developing their own ideas of community life and want to support them as much as possible. To offer them a meaningful field of activity, to give them the experience that they can make a difference, is particularly important to the two pastors. I am active in youth work, and I encourage them not to emigrate and spend their future here, so that they see that when the youth leave here, that the country has no future. It is Sunday, and Father Hans is once again in one of his numerous branch churches to celebrate Mass. Until recently, it was still the case that someone had to think very carefully about whether or not to go to church, because there could be consequences. If I need anything in the political office, it can be something banal, an ID card, or a condo, or a signature that could have consequences. The change that has come in the last years, we notice by the fact that people have lost this fear.
Ziemlich verloren haben. Also da merke ich eine Veränderung.
Back in Mairie, if time allows, Father Joan is on the road in the neighborhoods to visit people. Contact is not only important to him, he also gives him strength. I'm much happier here than in Switzerland. I've been back in Switzerland for 3 months now. I've got the wealth, but at the same time I notice that people are very dissatisfied, hectic and stressed out, and have no time for each other.
Vieron, esta es acción negativa. No, es verdad, José, eso no se debe de hacer.
Déjala que tome.
Dile que no, pensándolo bien.
A meeting of young people. With the support of a missionary sister and catechists, Father Hans invited young people to spend a day together. Meanwhile, also non-Christians are interested in the offer. They told us what we do or were curious. Why do you go to church? What are there? And they told us that there are not only services, but there is catechesis. There are education, excursions. It goes to the river or to the sea. The program not only includes religious issues, but also topics such as alcohol and drugs or social commitment. Life in all its facets is to be discussed here. That is special here in this situation that they do not receive any ethical or religious training at all at school, and that is completely ignored, quite systematically by the system.
Buenos días, alumnos.
Buenos días.
¿Cómo están? Hoy vamos a aplicar la prueba de matemáticas.
This group reenacts a teaching scene. It is an attempt to view one's own life from a different perspective and to question it critically. I often hear young people like her rave about this country and that it is a pity that they say, I have a good education, but I have no prospects here. These young people give us hope. The more they see themselves as building blocks of a new society, the more the country will change. In the church, and not least in missionaries such as Father Hans, they have a reliable partner.